Hi my dear students, good morning to all. Welcome to Maths online class. We are discussing with the chapter Lines and Angles. In the previous classes, we learned which all types of angles: supplementary angles, complementary angles and vertically opposite angles. In today's class, we can learn what are adjacent angles and linear pair. So first we can discuss about adjacent angles. What are adjacent angles? Before, let me ask you, what is the word meaning of the word adjacent? What is it? The word adjacent means the very next to or adjoining. What is it? Next to or adjoining. So what do you mean by adjacent angles? In common language, if I define, it is the angles lying to the very next. But in mathematically, if you want the definition of adjacent angles, these two angles should have some particular features. We can check out what are they. So we can discuss what are the features. Look here. Here I have two angles. Which are the two angles? Starting from this point, here coming here, then ending here. This is one angle. Starting from this side, coming by this way, ending up here. This is the second angle. So in this, here we are having two angles. Now I am going to check whether I can say these two angles are adjacent. The first condition, the two angles should have a common arm. So what do you mean by arm? The rays or the legs of the angles. Consider this angle, which are the arms or legs. This is one arm and this is one arm. Now in this angle, which are the arms? This is one arm and this is one arm. Now tell me, in these two angles, whether they have a common arm? Yes, this is the common arm. So these two angles have a common arm, this one. Now the second condition, the two angles should have a common vertex. What is vertex? The point of intersection between the two rays, isn't it? So in this angle, the point of intersection is this. And when we are considering this angle, the point of intersection is this. So whether these two angles are having common vertex also? Yes. Now the third condition is the non-common arms should be on the either side of the common arm. That means, which is the non-common arm? This arm and this arm should be on the either side of the common arm. This is the common arm, isn't it? It should be on the either side, means this arm is on this side and this arm is on this side. So if two angles satisfy these three conditions, then we can say that two angles are adjacent angles. So what is the first condition? First condition, they should have a common arm. Second condition, they should have a common vertex. Third condition, the non-common arms should be on the either side of the common arm. If all these conditions are satisfied, then we can say these angles are adjacent angles. So what are adjacent angles? Look the figure here. A, B, C. This is one angle, angle 1. A, B, C and D, B, C. These are the two angles. In other words, angle 1 and angle 2. If this angle 1 and angle 2 should be adjacent angles, which are the conditions? There should be a common arm. So which is the common arm here? This is the common arm. BC is the common arm. And which is the common vertex? In ABC and DBC, which is the common vertex? B. Then the non-common arms means BA and BD are on either side of BC. So then we can say these two angles are adjacent angles. So which are the two angles here? Angle ABC and angle DBC. Now from this you can say which is the common arm? BC here, PC also here. So there is a common arm BC. Then common vertex B, and BA and BD are on either side of BC. So we can say ABC. Angle ABC and angle DBC are adjacent angles. Next we can discuss what are linear pair. A linear pair is a pair of adjacent angles whose non-common arms are opposite rays. So what do we mean by linear pair? All adjacent angles cannot be a linear pair. So which all adjacent angles can be a linear pair? We can discuss. So here I am having two adjacent angles. Check out it. Whether these are adjacent angles. What are the conditions for adjacent angles? They should have a common arm. They should have a common vertex. And that non-common arm should be on the either side. So they satisfy. So these two angles are adjacent. Now whether these two angles can form a linear pair. Can they form? No, this cannot form a linear pair. If these adjacent angles should be a linear pair, the only one condition, what is that? These two non-common rays should be opposite. That means this ray should be opposite to this. That means it should be a straight line. Clear? This can be a linear pair. That means the non-common arms should be opposite. Then that adjacent angles can be a linear pair. In other words, a linear pair means here two angles are there, isn't it? The sum of these two angles should be 180 degree. The sum of this angle and this angle is 180 degree. Then we can say these two angles form a linear pair. If this sum want to be 180, then this line should be what? What this line should? Yes, straight. Why it should be straight? Because you know the measure of a straight angle is 180 degree. So understood which type of adjacent angles are linear pair? So what is a linear pair? A linear pair is a pair of adjacent angles whose non-common arms are opposite rays, and the sum of two angles should be 180 degree. So this is a linear pair. This should be a straight line. It doesn't mean that this should be a straight. This can be, see, it can be like this, see. Only the condition this should be. That means this two, when we add the measure of this angle and this angle, we should get 180. In order to get 180, this non-common arm should be on the opposite side. Opposite ray means they should be a straight line. Then we can say these two adjacent angles are linear pair. So what is it? The sum of, if the sum of two angles are 180 degree, then they form a linear pair. So what is a linear pair? Look the figure. Here we have two angles here. What are they? L, M, N and O, M, N. So if these two pairs should be a linear pair, when I am adding these two given angles, here what? 60 degree, here what? 120 degree. What is the sum of 120 and 60 degree? 120 plus 60 is 180 degree. Then we can say this is a linear pair. So in order to check whether given pair is a linear pair, you need to check only the sum of the given two angles. If the sum is 180 degree, then we can say that two angles are linear pair. That means LMN and OMN are linear pair. So you know what are linear pair. So let me ask you, two angles forming a linear pair are. What will be here? Two angles forming a linear pair are. What will be? When we can say two angles are linear pair, if the sum of two angles are how much? Yes, 180 degree. So that 180 degree you have learned in another concept with 180 degree in the previous classes. Which angle is that? When two angles sum is 180 degree, what we call that angle? Yes, very good. Supplementary. So, two angles forming a linear pair are supplementary. So, in other words, two angles forming a linear pair are supplementary. Supplementary means the sum is 180 degree. Now in asking in reverse order, if two adjacent angles are supplementary, they form a. What do you mean by that? If two adjacent angles are supplementary means if the sum of two adjacent angles are supplementary. What do you mean by supplementary? 180 degree. Then what is? They form what? Linear pair. So if two adjacent angles are supplementary, they form a linear pair. So the same concept they are asking into different ways. Two angles forming a linear pair are supplementary. If two adjacent angles are supplementary, they form a linear pair. Consider this figure. We have here also two angles, angle 1 and angle 2. Can these two angles be adjacent? We have three conditions. So, here in this angle and in this angle, whether there is a common arm. What are the arms of this angle? ABC. AB is a arm, BC is a arm. In the angle CDE, which are the arms? CD is an arm, DE is an arm. Whether we have a common arm? No. Next, whether they have a common vertex? Here the vertex is B and here the vertex is D. So they don't have a common vertex. So they don't have a common vertex and a common arm. So we can say these two angles are not adjacent angles. So today we learned what are adjacent angles and linear pair. What are the conditions for two angles to be adjacent and when we can say a pair of angles are linear pair. These all things we discussed in today's class. So altogether you studied 5 angles. What are they? Complementary, supplementary, vertically opposite angles, adjacent angles and linear pair. These all angles are connected. So study in that manner. Copy down the notes given and attend the test paper. You have some more facts about angles that we can study in the coming classes. Thank you.